Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I'm leading the show to discuss a very important development in the Nigerian media space. The International Press Institute, a few days ago, decided to unveil its Book of Infamy. 3 names came up, and we're going to have a discussions about those 3 names and why they got on the list, the Book of Infamy. To join me in that very important conversation that establishes the place of the Nigerian press in the polity is an international journalist, media relations guru, and the correspondent of Al Jazeera News, the English edition, who has also reported for BBC and NBC News. I'd like to welcome, for the first time, to Inside Sources, Mr. Fidelis Mba.
It's a pleasure being here.
Welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you. Thank you. And also, let me say welcome too, because we're having a joint show today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to start by asking you to explain to our audience what it is that IPI just did.
Okay, thank you. We came up with the idea of the Book of Infamy in 2022. But, we were fine-tuning plans on how to actually properly structure the Book of Infamy. In fact, we're playing with some names. We're playing with the name of Black Book. We say just hearing Black Book from a distance will scare people and all that. Yeah. So we actually conceived that idea because we started noticing an increasing pattern, which is a pattern of journalists being inhibited from carrying out their job, journalists being harassed, journalists being intimidated, journalists being arrested, detained, most times unjustly. We're not excusing that some of our colleagues don't stray, off the line. But in this case, it was continuing where you just see journalists who go out for an assignment, they are hounded, they go to cover a protest, they are arrested along with other people. Even if you're targeting, for instance, say maybe suspected terrorists are even out or something. If you find a journalist there, it's possible the journalist is either investigating or the journalist is there to cover maybe a protest. But if for any reason you have a case where maybe you have a case against the journalist, then there are legal ways to seek redress, not just hounding the journalist. So we're saying, even if you feel a journalist has done something wrong, seek redress. There are legal means of seeking redress, not just arbitrary calling because the commissioner of police in your state is your friend, or maybe you're a governor, you're in control of the commissioner of police, or you're in control of DSS, then you just call them to pick up the journalist.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm going to read from the statement that IPI released a few days ago at its meeting. It says, today we are compelled to add 3 Nigerian public officials to the IPI Nigerian Book of Infamy. Their actions represent serious violations of press freedom and democratic norms, making them the first set of individuals to earn a place in this accountability record. And the names are Governor Muhammad Umaru Bago, the governor of Niger State, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode, and the third name is that of Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State. So those are the 3 names that are in the Book of Infamy.
Correct.
Now, for people, for easier explanation, the Book of Infamy means that somebody who has done something bad and wicked. Okay, and as far as the International Press Institute is concerned, these people have acted in a way that have been wicked and bad to press freedom and to journalists. So we're going to get into the details of what it is that these 3 officials, public officials, have done to have handled this. And for full disclosure, I am in support of this kind of bold action coming from the media, because since I came back as a presidential spokesperson into journalism, I found out that people don't respect journalists, and I've seen a lot of violations. And so when I heard about this, I was immediately impressed that there is an organization that understands how to protect, the image of the press, because the Constitution of Nigeria, gives the press a mandate,
Yeah.
We have a constitutional mandate. So this is very important. And like he said, it's not a personal, but it's to protect the democratic space. I was discussing with both yourself and the president that even under military rule in this country, journalists, fought the military to a standstill. So now that we are in a democratic regime, we shouldn't have to tolerate this kind of conduct that is contrary to the democratic norms that all of us Nigerians have committed to. So I'm going to ask you, let's start with the first name, that is Governor Bago. What did Governor Bago do?
Okay, for Governor Bago, there's a radio station called Badegi FM. Badegi FM has been like one of the radio stations that has been trying to hold government accountable.
In Niger State?
Yeah, in Niger State. So the radio station aired a program where one of the anchors talked about, because government was planning to build a flyover, which is common with our public officials. If you flyover, once you build a flyover, people should clap for you, then you've solved the entire state problem. They were trying to build a flyover. And they said this place is where not even up to 500 vehicles ply that road. And they're like, why would you waste a colossal amount?
It's not a busy area.
Yeah, it's not a busy area. There's no traffic. Why is it just for aesthetics that you want to spend billions to build a flyover? And we have a case of, like in Mina, they have a case of lack of water supply. He said, why not use this money and provide water for residents of Mina?
That's what the anchor was talking about on radio.
Yes, or solve other problems. That was one. And then he said, look, that is based on how you touch people's lives, that people would gladly re-elect you, not by just for the sake of it, just putting up a flyover. So the governor felt offended and sent one of the agencies of government to go and shut down the radio station. Just shutting them down, to also withdraw their license. So they're now like, look.
But their license is a federal license.
Yeah, not even that. Number one, no governor, no public official has any right to shut down a radio station. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, nobody has the right to withdraw a license of any broadcast station.
Right.
Because all these rights rest with NBC, that's the National Broadcasting Commission.
Right.
And even for the NBC to take this decision, they need to go to court to make a presentation.
Right.
And then the court will listen to the people who, the accused, and then they're the plaintiffs as well, listen to their arguments, and then make a decision as to whether their license should be withdrawn. It's not something that you just wake up and do, carry out by fiat. So he did that. The Honorable Minister of Information, who is also incidentally from Niger State, intervened. He is our member as well. He's a member of the IPI.
Yeah.
He intervened.
I saw him at the program.
Yes, we reached out to him. So he went to the governor, called the owners of the station, tried to intervene so that they can settle this out of court. But the governor, at that point, because the station had gone to court to stop them, because they were out to just bring down their structure and withdraw their license, stop them from broadcasting. So with the intervention of the Minister of Information, they were able to, they prevailed on the radio station to withdraw the court case that they had filed. So they withdrew that, and the arrangement was for them to have an out-of-court settlement.
Okay.
Just a few days after, the next thing, the government people started again harassing them, trying to censor what they were.
How were they doing that?
Like coming there to intimidate people at work, still telling them that they were going to bring down their,
Were these law enforcement agents or just
just
officials of government?
I can't remember that particular arm, but it's an arm of government. Okay. Under the governor's supervision that went there, and even when the governor was prevailed on, he kept saying that look, that they've erred and that he's going to stop them from broadcasting. We issued a statement. We issued a statement, not just one. We even wrote personally to the governor. It was ignored. We kept trying to intervene. In fact, right now, Badegi FM has even gone back to court to say, look, we're seeking for protection because these guys have reneged on the agreement we had due to the intervention of the minister. So with that, we kept reaching out to the Niger State government, but the governor was not willing to listen. So it was at that point we're like, look, if we allow this man, he's going to even do worse. This is not even the first incident. Before now, we had a case of somebody, a journalist, who went to cover an event, who just went to cover an event and was assaulted by officials attached to the governor. And then we also had a case where a correspondent of the now defunct Voice of America was in Niger State and was also assaulted. So we're like, look,
you're assaulted by
officials, of government officials. So we're like, and all those times we issued statements, we wrote to government to rein in those officials, but nothing was done. So he's been setting a bad precedent, and we're like, if we keep allowing him, there should be some form of checks, because most of these governors, even if you go to the police, what would the police do? They hide under the case of immunity, and they do whatever they want to do. So that's why we decided to include this name. The vice president, you remember when we had our conference?
Yeah.
When the Book of Infamy was launched, incidentally, we called up the vice president to launch the book.
Yes.
Nobody actually knew what was inside. So when we launched it, even the vice president was sort of like, let me not say embarrassed. He was a bit shocked, but he quickly had to intervene. As a senior political leader, he said that he pleaded with us and said, you know what, please give me 2 weeks, so that he can reach out to the governors. That's in this case Akwa Ibom and Niger, and also the IG of police, to see if something can be done. Because we're saying we're not putting these names permanently. We're just saying the names will be there as long as
as their excesses have not been redeemed.
But once you correct the things we're complaining about,
we take them off. And that's commendable of the vice president, by the way. I was impressed that the vice president held the book. And we had that photo.
Even when he looked at it, he like, oh, what a name.
We must commend him, and we hope that his efforts to, bring reconciliation works. Let's move to the second name, that is the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun. What about him?
Well, for the IG of police, his own case is, even if we want to rate them according to offenses, his is the worst, because in this case, we've had repeated cases of people using the police to harass journalists, arrest journalists during assignments, like when they go to cover events, when they go to cover protests, when they go, which one do we even mention and leave out? Because you look at even the protests that had to do with increment in fuel prices and all that. Many journalists were brutalized, their equipment seized, some of them broken. We've written to him. Most of our colleagues have been arrested over time just for doing their job. A case in point is that of Azuka Ogujo Oba. I hope I got her surname right. She used to be a journalist with This Day, but she has her own platform. She covered a court proceeding that had to do with a land case in Lagos. But because the company in question was not, they didn't want that court case to be reported. They didn't want it out in the public. But because she reported it, then the next thing they called the police. Police got her arrested, detained for some days. We had to intervene, and then eventually she was released. She got a lawyer. And then what the police now, she was granted bail, what the police now did was, she lives in Lagos. They now started asking her to report to Abuja every week.
Oh, wow.
Let's look at the cost of transport, flying to Abuja from Lagos.
Who will be taking care of those
costs? No, she had to bear the cost.
Oh, my.
She had to fly in with her lawyer every visit.
Why can't they, do the...
We have the Zone 2 in Onikon. So why didn't they ask her to report at the Zone 2 Onikon, or go to the...
That would seem like a deliberate attempt to actually cause her some discomfort.
Yes, it was just to humiliate her and also to cause her serious discomfort, because how do you imagine she alone spending about, that's like, say, maybe average of 200,000 per trip, and then her lawyer. So this is more like 400,000 per trip. So that's 800,000. You're talking about airport taxis, through and fro. You're talking about lodging in a hotel.
Oh, it's just truly wicked. It's just
he kept doing that. We kept writing and pleading with the IG of police, but he wasn't listening. We've had cases of journalists just being arrested because they went to cover an event, like I mentioned earlier, and then so we kept writing to the IG. We kept pleading, even with Adejobi, the former
PPRO,
Yes, We engaged him a couple of times. Even now that Hunde is there.
What did Adejobi say?
No, but they will just make promises. Okay, like this, we're going to rein in the officers and all that. But nothing concrete was done. For the IG, we personally wrote to him a couple of times. He never responded. So we looked at it and look, if we continue allowing the police to do this, and then of course the buck stops at the IG's table.
Yeah.
So he was not doing anything. Some state commissioners of police even tried to be a bit civil by trying to, protect journalists who were especially out on assignment. So there was no effort by the police, both the PRO, both the IG of police. So we decided, okay, the buck stops at the IG of police table. And that was why we decided his name has to go into the Book of Infamy. And we're saying, if tomorrow he changes, we'll definitely just take his name off.
Interesting. For the Inspector General of Police, he is somebody who is even a public intellectual. He has a PhD.
Yeah.
And he worked with the current president when he was governor.
Yeah, I was a young reporter in Lagos.
Yeah.
When the president was the governor.
Exactly.
I was in Government House. I used to see him. He was there as a CSO. That time, Disu, who is now an AIG,
yes.
Tunji Disu, was the ADC to the governor. So I know that setup. He was there.
I don't know any other politician in this country that has the kind of media connection and reach, ownership and friendship like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And to the extent that you are related to him, it's important for you to be very careful how you manage the press, because these excesses that have been described, we can't accept them in a democratic society. So let's move to the third point as we wrap up, the case of Governor Umoeno. What happened to him?
For Pastor Umoeno, many see him as a gentleman. I also see him as a gentleman, also given the fact that he's a pastor.
Yeah.
Recently, the case we have against him is that involving Channels Television. He expelled, the reporter and the cameraman were expelled from Government House just because they broadcast what he actually said. Not like they didn't forge anything. It wasn't a case of fake news. It was a case of what he said that they broadcast.
Right.
And they reported. So he's like, okay, even if you were not happy with what they broadcast, you could have as well just approached them and say, oh, my brother, oh, my sister, oh, whatever, and just say, this is not fair now. You should have at least maybe tried to, just maybe, I didn't want this as out. But he didn't for any reason say, we go to politicians, we go to public officials, they will tell you something and tell you, please, this is off record.
Right.
He never said it was off record.
Right.
Because if he had said it was off record and they went ahead to broadcast, that's where he has a case against them. Because they did their job of reporting what he actually said, then the next thing he asked the CPS, which is the chief press secretary, to expel them from Government House. And when we got...
And the chief press secretary himself, Mr. Kayode, is an outstanding journalist of note.
Yeah, even, Anyeka Nomana, he's Commissioner for Information, is also a journalist. So we reached out to both of them. We reached out to the press secretary. He tried to justify why these guys should be replaced. And we said, it's not within your purview to dictate to a media house who should cover.
Yeah, because
except you don't want that media house entirely. You can just say, okay, we don't want
that is some form of censorship.
Yes, we said allow them to decide who they should send to Government House to report for them. You can't dictate. What if the other ones also commit a similar offense? Is that how you will keep sending them out? And so we told them that won't happen. We reached out to Anyeka Nomana as well. He gave the same reason that they've written to Channels to send another crew. We said, no, that wouldn't happen. We wrote to the governor. He ignored us. We, sent people to try to, to possibly see how this can be resolved. Nothing was done. This is like unofficial, means of trying to resolve this off the record. We kept back and forth trying to intervene, but the governor or the Government House, in this case, or the state government, was adamant that the Channels reporters would not be reinstated. This is 7 months. We're not talking about 2 weeks. We're not talking about 1 month.
7 months.
7 months. And we're like, look, this is just too much.
Yeah.
And that unless he recalls these guys, which is the Channels crew, we'll have to put his name there because this is setting a very bad precedent. And if we allow this to, to slide, others will take a cue from that.
Yeah.
Other state governors will say, okay, oh, it's actually important, or maybe we will do this without getting any form of punishment. That's why we say, okay, we have to include his name. You know, even though the next day his aides went on a propaganda overdrive, oh, they gotten a commendation from the NUJ and all that, other associations, even showing a picture of the NUJ president handing a plaque or something or an award to the governor. We're not saying you're not good. We're not saying we have nothing to do with your politics.
Absolutely.
All we're concerned is ensure that our members are reinstated. That's in this case, journalists are reinstated. Even though they're not our members as IPI, but they are colleagues, they are journalists, they should be allowed to do their jobs without any form of censorship and without you dictating who a media house should be able to send to cover your activity. They think it's just we doing this in Abuja. Their names will go to our headquarters in Vienna. Their names will be circulated around the world. And anywhere that press freedom violation is mentioned, their names will be at the front burner. And this also has some diplomatic implications.
Of course.
Because these countries that you're sending this to, they'll be surprised, even with their international, you know, with their diplomatic passport. You might get to a particular country, they'll say, sorry.
There's an issue. Thank you so much, Mr. Fidelis Mba. I think that all our colleagues, every journalist, should be in support of this very brave move of IPI. Our editorial writers should do editorials about these three people until they redeem the situation. Thank you for coming to his associate, Mr. Fidelis Mba, and thank you for the work that IPI is doing.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.